Hello and welcome back to my channel. My name is Lindie. I talk about language learning, productivity, mindset, design, and everything in between. Today we are talking about the ultimate habits that good language learners have. How do successful language learners seem to get so much more done than average language learners? How do they seem so successful? What are these habits that good language learners are implementing for success? I'm going to start by mentioning 5 things that successful language learners do as habits. The first one is habit stacking. After that is creating a schedule for a week. Then it's using a language planner. Number 4 is setting an anchor in your week. And number 5 is regularly adjusting your language learning routine. So let's talk about habit stacking. This is a method that I first came across in James Clear's book, Atomic Habits, which has been read by many people in the language community. If you haven't read the book yet, I highly recommend you do. It's fantastic, and I will put a link to the book in the description. So think of habit stacking this way. You already do certain habits, such as hanging up your car keys when you get home, or making a cup of tea before bed, brushing your teeth, etc. Habit stacking is adding another habit to another habit. For example, doing squats at night and then reviewing your vocabulary flashcards. You can stack language learning habits on top of other habits. For instance, if you are brushing your teeth every morning, which you should, you could turn on your favorite language learning podcast. Or you tell yourself, after breakfast, I'm going to do 15 minutes of vocabulary review on my favorite language learning app. There are many ways that you can incorporate habit stacking into your language learning routine. Mastering this ability and applying these strategies can really help change your language learning life and mindset. And while you're watching, I would love to introduce you to my ebook. Yes, I have an ebook. It is called Building a Language Learning Habit, The Ultimate Guide. I have tons of pages full of all of my advice, more than you can get in this video, about how to build a language learning habit. The ebook is available for $5 if you are a member of my language club on Buy Me a Coffee. The link is in the description. Otherwise, you can buy the book using the link which is also in the description at its regular price. It has 20 pages full of my advice, and I highly recommend you check it out if you are the type of person who wants to build consistent language learning habits and wants to learn from successful language learners. Point 2, not 4, point 2 is creating a language learning schedule or routine. You don't have to do this, but this is what many successful language learners do. They block in their time. My charger just fell, that was creepy. So what I do in my calendar is number 1, I book Preply or italki language lessons. Link in bio if you want discount. I book those lessons and then I put them in my Google Calendar, and I have lessons either every day or once every 2 days for Thai at the moment. And I block that time in my calendar, and this means I have this consistent habit, I have this routine of language learning every day or every second day. If you create a language learning schedule that fits the time you have, you are going to be more successful. So ask yourself, how much time do I have in the day? Do I have time in the mornings, maybe in my lunch break, or maybe in the evenings? And what can I do with that time? Maybe you only have time in the evenings after school or work to review some flashcards. Maybe you only have time in the mornings when you wake up early and you're going for a run and you have to listen to a podcast. Try and find these gaps of time and use them effectively to build a language learning schedule. The next thing that I love doing is having a language learning planner or a language learning journal. Again, this is completely optional. Everybody has a different way of learning languages. But last year, using a language planner was extremely successful for me. On the left side of the page, I wrote what I did every single day related to language learning. And on the right side of the page, I switched between writing a paragraph in the language I'm learning, or writing how it went with my week, or writing how many hours I've learned. It's completely up to you what you want to put in your language journal. You can write about how it's been going and analyze and say, where can I improve my language learning? You can write diary entries in your language learning journal. I actually have a book right here which I use for Hungarian, and I write a paragraph in Hungarian every single day before I go to bed. Again, habit stacking. So there are many different ways to use a language learning journal. I have tons of videos about it, so you can just search on my channel language journal or language planner and you will find my videos about how to use a language learning planner or journal. In line with having a language learning journal, you have to set some goals. I have another video on successful goal setting or how not to set goals, which I suggest you check out here. But remember that goals are personal, and you should remember the SMART technique. Everybody knows about the SMART technique. You could just Google it if you haven't heard of it before. So set goals that are realistic to you, and always set them a little lower than you think you can, because it's better to have low expectations and overperform than it is to have super high expectations and underperform when you're under stress. Next, I want to talk about setting an anchor. Benny Lewis and I had a conversation about this at the Polyglot conference last year. And what Benny coined as an anchor is something in your week that anchors you to language learning. One thing, one habit that is never going to change in the week. For him and I, that is our online language lessons. So I put, let's say at the bare minimum, at least one language lesson a week in my calendar, and that is my anchor. What that means is if I don't do anything else in the week, at least I've got that one thing that I've done. That is a habit that I'm continuing. That is something that I can pat myself on the back for and say, congrats, you've kept up with your one goal of the bare minimum of doing one language lesson a week. So try to find what can be an anchor for you. What is the bare minimum that you can commit to doing every single week when you are learning a language? I suggest when you're participating in the activity that you've set in your anchor to do deep focus. Another book I would recommend, link in bio, is Cal Newport's book, Deep Focus. It's a fantastic read. I read it in 2 sessions in the library, and it really helped me reframe the way I look at focus and work. So if you want to focus deeply, I highly recommend you check out that book. And finally, being open to adjusting your routine. I have spoken about using an agile approach in language learning a few times in my videos. This is something that I learned from working at a startup. What it is basically looking back at what you've done and analyzing what went well, what can I improve on, what do I want to stop, what have I learned, those types of things. You can draw a little matrix on a sheet of paper and put labels for yourself and say what worked, what didn't work, what did I learn, what can I improve on, and fill that in every week or every month if you reflect back on your language learning. And why it's called agile is it changes. So you look at what kind of habits do I want to stop? What is not working for me? Maybe flashcards don't work for me, so I'm going to remove that from my language learning routine. Maybe listening to podcasts on the bus is really something I enjoy. How can I do more of that? So you change your routine accordingly. So take it with a pinch of salt, try and be agile, adjust your methods. Try using one method of language learning, one structure, one routine, one tip that you get from someone for 2 weeks, and then you change your routine for another 2 weeks, and you change your routine for another 2 weeks, so that you can try different methods and ultimately find the one that works for you. You can always change your routine. The first step is just to stick to it. If it's working, you keep on. If it's not working, if it's too hard, remove some stuff from your language learning routine. And a final word, please refrain from comparing yourself to people online. It's very easy in this online community where we have tons of language learners making videos on YouTube to compare yourself and say, I'm not as good as this person, I'm not as dedicated or motivated as this person, I can't speak as well as this person. That is completely destructive and negative thinking, which is going to get you nowhere, and you're better using that time studying languages yourself. So ignore what everyone else is doing, take bits of advice from them for sure, but apply it to your own life, your own schedule and your routine, and go at your own pace. Refrain from comparing yourself to others. I hope this video has been helpful, and I wish you a wonderful rest of the week, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye bye!